5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Irish Racing Hour. I'm your host, Shane Rooney, also known as the Peaky Blogger. I'm joined, as always, by my two co-hosts, Ryan Sharkey and Dean Hegarty from Racing Records. And we're joined by a very, very special and witty guest, Brendan Murphy, dual-purpose trainer down in Cork. Brendan, welcome on board. It's great to have you.
Thanks very much. It is great. You consider me dual purpose with one runner.
I sure look at you. You had a few runners over the jumps anyway, so we'll count it anyway. But Brendan, just I suppose looking into your life as a trainer, like just give a brief introduction, say, as to your life in racing. And I know your family have a big background in the racing scene as well. Just I suppose just give an introduction, say how you got bitten by the bug, really.
Because I was a bit slow to take up on it, really. I mean, the family is well steeped in racing history, you know, with winners, the relations of winners from the Hennessy Gold Cup to the Kerry National to Belmont Park in the States, you know. But it was very late when I really got involved into horses. I suppose it's only about, what was it, 10 years ago, I started to get involved in horses, hunting and things like that, and it progressed from there gradually. And ended up buying a couple of race horses and continued on as an owner with a bit of success. And we went from there then, and we decided to jump into deep end and go training. And the family combined their breeding operation and their racing interests, and we combined ours with theirs, and we took over the running of it, the day-to-day running of it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I know, say, from talking to you there in the past, that like obviously you worked in a few different yards and different things like that, but like just how, like, did you find any difficulties, say, progressing, say, from just your standard owner to actually go about and train horses? And I suppose if there was, I suppose, any ways and means about, I suppose, trying to avoid them, say, for those that might want to consider doing that in the future, like, was there any, I suppose, difficulties, say, for you?
Stay well away from it. No, I was lucky enough at the time when I first got involved as an owner. I was actually working for Tony Mullins at the time, and Tony was brilliant. To be honest, he gave me an awful lot of good advice down through the years, and like, he's a very knowledgeable man. He's just been very unlucky with just not getting the right horses for a period of time. He has a nice crop of horses there now, and we're hoping to see good things for him. It progressed from there on then to spending a bit of time with Willie. It was mostly transport work I did with Willie, but I was very close working around the yard and stuff like that. I got to see an awful lot of what went on with the training side of it. And I mean, I make no secret whatsoever of my admiration for that man. I mean, look at Stormy Ireland again. Like, I mean, goes away, loses 4, comes back home to Willie, and bang, you know.
Yeah.
He just has a way of standing back and looking at a horse. And even I seen Danny Mullins said something somewhere where we'll take off all the headgear today. You know, he just looks a horse in the eye and makes that decision there and then, and it works. You know, his knowledge and his connection with horses is just amazing.
Yeah, definitely. But
there was a lot to be learned. There was a lot to be learned there. Once you're in places like that, once your eyes open, you're going to learn an awful lot. And I mean, we only had a couple of horses ourselves, so the training side of it was only part-time originally. So we were kind of pre-training them at home first, and then we sent them on to the trainers to run. And I decided then to go and do the training course, and we decided to join forces with my aunt's breeding operation, and I joined my horses with the father's horses, and we're at the stage now where we've the ones of 30 horses here in the yard. A lot more than I ever intended on having. Unfortunately, last year didn't quite go to plan. We got an infection here in the yard, and it knocked us. It took us 9 months really to come out of it. You might have seen some media coverage on the herpes virus that hit the show jumping world there recently, and it was a variation of that we picked up. Like, I mean, it was so bad at one stage. You go into a stable, you put a head collar on a horse, and its back legs would go out from underneath and fall down the ground, you know, and you'd wonder what the hell is going on here. And it was a tough year. It took a long time, as I said, a lot of hard work, a lot of disinfecting, a lot of isolation. And we thought we were on top of it. And next thing, they all took a turn again. And we decided that there was only one way out of it. And we stuck them all out in paddocks where they could touch each other, rub each other. And we just kept feeding. And they got through it, thank God. And Ballycanes was probably one of the worst hit by it. But we got through it. And we're out the other side now. Horses are in goodish enough old farm. Bit of a speed bump there on the opening day of the season. Ground didn't suit one. Ballycanes won 110% himself. But we've 4 or 5 to pull out there now over the next couple of weeks. And we've 5 or 6 more kind of ready to come when the ground will change for proper good ground. And we're looking forward to the season, most definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's great to see, say, someone like yourself that's actually progressed, say, from, I suppose, just your standard everyday owner to actually take the plunge and go into, I suppose, the deep end into, I suppose, training horses. But I suppose, like, looking at it from a breeding aspect of things, because I know you breed your own horses. I know, look, at you had great success with Annie Fiore on the track. She's after throwing out a lovely looking cold foal there for you. Just, I suppose, say, for those in the breeding industry, like that are, I suppose, struggling to find the right stallion or the right mare, like, what is your process, say, for pairing a particular mare with a particular stallion?
I depend a bit on dosage index. There's a kind of like a scientific formula that they've accumulated over the years from different statistics from different stallions. It's used an awful lot more in the States than what it would be here, but I use that as a baseline. And from there, then I kind of decide what I want to do. Do I need to get more speed? Do I want them to stay a bit further? You know, do I need to add a little bit of length? But like, it's breeding is trial and error. I mean, you can have everything right on paper, and the horse you get might be just that little bit too compact. You know, you might need a bit more length next time you go covering. It might be absolutely bonkers in the head and uncontrollable. You might need to go to a quieter stallion. Because Annie Fiore was quite hot in herself when she was racing. She was a lady at home, but as soon as she got to the racetrack, she was a demon. Which she showed the day in the Group 2 coming out of the stalls when she tried taking out half the field. But yeah, that's kind of, it's trial and error, and there's an awful lot of luck involved. It's the same as racing. There's luck involved in everything to do with this game. And I mean, it's a flip of a coin as to whether you're going to get a filly or a colt. We agreed here at home that if we had a filly, we'd hold on to her, and if we had a colt, we'd go to the sales. I was over the moon when I seen we had a colt, but you know, it sank in after a while, and really sank in the last few days in particular as I'm seeing him get stronger and stronger. And I'm seeing a crafty little side, and he's a cute little fella. You know, he's clever. So it's going to be tough to sell him. I'm really getting attached to him, but that's the decision that we've made. And as I say, when I first got involved in this game, it was a breeding operation that joined in with racing operation. And sorry, did that pause?
No.
Yep. It was a breeding operation that joined in with a racing operation, and the breeding operation had gone slightly astray. So there was a bit of thinning out the herd to be done, which we haven't quite got around to doing yet, but we'll do it this year. You know, there's some serious quality mares here, but what I want to turn it into is I want to have an operation where I've actually ran the mares, you know, and I'd like to keep 4 or 5 running and 4 or 5 breeding, and constantly upgrading the breeding stock. If I take in 4 new runners next year, I'll pick the best of the herd if they're good enough. They may not be good enough, and we'll continue on to breed on with them. And if one of the breeding stocks stops performing to the spec that we want, then we'll move her on again, and we'll bring in one of the new ones. You know, and that'd be the ideal case scenario for us, because we have an awful lot going on here. There's a lot of farming, there's a lot of ground to be looked after. So like I'm working 16 and 18-hour days in order to keep up with everything. Racing isn't the number one source of income. We couldn't survive on it alone. So, we just need to get the thing tidied up small bit now and move on. We've only one owner's horse here in the yard, Horse Racing Buddy. And that's kind of the way we want to keep, we kind of want to be running our own stuff. And it's going to become more of hopefully a profitable hobby rather than an essential day-to-day operation.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, talking about Horse Racing Buddy, Ryan, I know you have a couple of questions there, I suppose, surrounding that side of things as well. I might let you take over from here.
Yeah, just with Horse Racing Buddy, Kieran Looney runs that. He's a fantastic lad. You can see all the charity stuff he does, and recently with the Ray McLean Cup, it's fantastic what he does. I suppose that's something you love getting involved in, is it?
Yeah, Kieran came to me with the idea at the beginning that he wanted to get a horse in training. And, he had some fantastic ideas. And like, even at the beginning, True Dreamer was put up for raffle, the half share, and it was any profits, any excess profits that were made off of that were donated to Inter Jockeys Fund. And I thought it was a brilliant idea, and it was a way for me to give back into the racing community as well by just promoting it and trying to advertise it as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, without our jockeys, we've nothing. And there again, now recently, they did the Break the Egg Challenge. There was one of the club members passed away, sadly, of cancer. And I see a new video went up there today of his family, how much it has meant to his family for us to go and do something in Ray McLean's honour was mine. It was absolute. They were blown away by it, and it's been a great comfort to them through this hard time. So it's been fantastic to be involved with Kieran and to be involved in that aspect of it. And that's the reason why I agreed to take a horse with Kieran, was because, it wasn't just an owner. It was a whole community. There's over 100 members in it. And it's been a fantastic experience the whole way through, And it's very important for a yard like ours to have some of that support behind us, because on the bad days, you get the messages from the club saying, look, they'll be grand the next day, everything will work out. And that's a hugely important part of racing. You have people in the background that understand that things do go wrong. I mean, we went to the Corrid last day expecting a huge run from Ballycanes. Fortunately, he got down to the start line, and I seen a photograph that Emma O'Brien took afterwards, and he had a bit of dirt, a bit of snot hanging off the end of his nose. I mean, these things happen in racing, and we're going to have punters out there who are saying, "Oh, Jesus, he pulled the fast one, this, that, and the other." Horses aren't machines, and I mean, we're only human as well. We make the wrong judgments, we make the wrong decisions, and horses have off days. So you need a bit of public support behind you. So that's the main reason why we took on Kieran and his team.
Yeah, 100%. It's a great cause, and it's a great club as well. You mentioned Ballycanes there. Tell me the story. What's next for him? Hurdles, flat, Dundalk.
No, he won't be seeing any hurdles for a while now. His main priority is to try and pick up races and to try and boost the breeding page as much as possible. I mean, we have a colt foal there on the ground, and the more Ballycanes can do, the more appealing that colt is going to be. He's a full brother to any Fior. So it's vital that his races are picked carefully now. We choose them wisely and try and get the best results we can with him. He is entered for Sunday in Leopardstown. There was 45 to 70 handicap over a mile. Now, I think that an awful lot of people thought that the mile might have been a bit too quick for him the last day in the Curragh. I beg to differ. I've always maintained that he has the toe to go a mile. I rode him in a piece of work today, and I can safely say it's the best piece of work that I've ever sat in a horse in this yard. I was blown away by it. So if he can do that, we're on the right track, most definitely. If the form he's in, he seems to be after picking up an awful lot in the last week. I have been riding him myself an awful lot in the last week, and I've changed his work routine. And interestingly enough, I've noticed today that I'm actually doing the exact same thing as what I used to be doing with any Fior. I spend one day a week, I might go for 3 or 4 miles, trot around the roads. The following day, I go steady canter the gallop, and I give him a good work piece then today, and the plan is now to freshen him up again. Tomorrow he'll go away for a couple of miles around the roads. We'll go for a hack, look in over ditches and walk for a while and take our time and let him see a bit of scenery and just sweeten him up. And it just seems to be working. So I'm after going back to the same routine, as I said, that I had with any floor. And to me, he's starting to ride an awful lot more like her at home, which he hadn't been in the past. And he hasn't been the most straightforward. When he came to us from Nicky Henderson's, his wind was very bad. So we had a couple of runs just to make sure we were right. And we went away, we got the wind operation done. We returned back to Dundalk. It was first night out after a few months off the track. He went back there again then, I think it was a week or two later, and he was just a little bit feely in the front leg. And, I brought him in, veterinary team that look after the horses here also do the stable veterinary work in Dundalk. So I said it to him, I said, look, he ran respectively. And I said, lads, no, he didn't. He wasn't beating that hard. He was beating 4 lengths. And I wasn't not happy with him. They gave him a full run over. We found to be fractionally lame in the front left leg. So again, a bit of time off with that, got him back right. We went from there. Actually, it took a bit of time to get him right after that. I think we went from there straight for the Irish Champion Hurdle. Now, he was in absolutely phenomenal form. And I go as far as saying that he was in the form that I've seen him in today, in the lead up to that. But unfortunately, the herpes had crept into the yard at that stage and we didn't realise it. And Ballycanes ended up going straight from Leopardstown to Greenmount Equine Hospital in Limerick. I didn't even get to bring him up. He gave 6 weeks there in intensive care. He had 3 holes drilled in his forehead to free up his sinuses. And as I say, it took 9 months after that to get him back right again. But I think we had him fairly right. But I definitely think we have him back to where I had him back in 2019 in the Dundalk here in December 2019. I definitely think we're back at that level.
Yep. I will do you a favour and I won't tip up anything in that race. No.
You couldn't pick my bloody heart.
Now, you went from rally cars to horses. How's that happened then?
Ran out of money. I was involved in motorsport from a very early age. I first got involved in go-kart racing semi-professionally at the age of 13. Took me a little while to settle down. I was a little bit wild, a little bit unpredictable on the track, you could say. Once I got focused, it came right. We went from there into what's known as Formula Ireland, 2-litre single-seater cars, to basically a miniature Formula 1 car. Spent a bit of time at that, and that wasn't quite suiting me. The drivers in that are very refined, very, very focused and very relaxed. They've been a little bit aggressive for that style of race. So we moved from there to rallying then, competed a good bit in Ireland and went to the UK, won the Welsh National Rally Championship. Plenty success in Group N. And basically the boom collapsed, the Celtic Tiger disappeared. And it was just costing too much money at the time, so we parked it up. We said we need to stop wasting money. A few quiet years after that, and got business back on track again, and then took it involved in horse racing. Because from one drug to another, basically, it's adrenaline and it's addictive, and it's a void that I'm constantly trying to fill. So horse racing seems to be doing the trick at the moment. I suppose I'm due a midlife crisis in the next few years, so we'll be tightening up the purse strap for that one, because God only knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, get in something cheaper next time, maybe knitting or something.
I actually have no idea I'm frightened as to what it's going to be, but hopefully the bank balance won't be too strong, because if it is, God only knows what's going to happen.
Dean, bring in the Dean. Right.
Just have seen some breaking news there. The shunter's been bought by JP McManus. Just there, I seen it. He's going to stay. Hopefully, trying to run on his colours tomorrow.
And that goes to show how much interest you have in me. Right, I'm aware.
Brennan, just touching on on from the boys talking about Annie Fior. Like, you know, she went on to 1-3, picked up the valuable black type. How important is it for a breeder pick up that important black type?
Well, there isn't too many people I've actually told this story to. When we first purchased Annie Fior, she was bought over the phone. We weren't at the sale, we weren't present. I actually rang a man working for George Mullins Transport, Martin, and I said, look, will you give a look at this horse for me? Tell me what you think. And he rang me back, yeah, nice horse, grand, she's fit, she's after running. You know, what more do you want me to say? I said, is she sound? Did you try her up? She's sound. I said, that'll do. So, struggled around to get an agent that was available at the sales, rang BPA, they had a good relationship with my family through racing down through the years. They had an agent available on the day. And we got on the phone to him and he did the bidding and we won the horse. She came home. About 2 weeks after I having her, I rang Jim Clark, I think it is. He used to work for the Irish National Stud and he looks after the bookings and things for Finchgale Fior. And I told him that day that I was going to put black type on their stallion. And I said, if I do, I want to put deep. So took me a little bit of time to get there, but we got there. She took a little bit of time to figure her out. She was quite quirky. She was hard to ride in the gallops. And she was very hard on herself. And, you know, judging from her previous form, we kind of thought she needed quick ground. And hence the reason we were running in her in Dundalk. And she was running quite respectably in Dundalk in very competitive races. But the turning point came in the double meeting that's actually coming up in Leopardstown, interestingly enough. She went there on the first day and she finished 6th. Conor Hoban rode where he came back in. He said to me, drop her back and trip and put a claimer on. I kind of said to myself, Jesus, no, I kind of thought she wanted more. So we had her entered again for 3 days later. So this time it's falling on a Sunday and a Wednesday. So we went back to an up to 100 handicap, a mile out of the handicap. I mean, I think like we were 7 pounds in it or wrong. We stuck Adam Farrer up, or she went to bottom weight, and lo and behold, she won. So from there on, then we kind of sat back and we thought about what had changed and what we had done. And luckily enough, again, with an entry in and Gorn, I think it was a few days later, and she went on and won again. So we established that we were after running her in between coming in and out of season. So we checked her again, everything was in order. We headed on from Mallow. Marshall Jennings just got the better of us at the line, because if you've probably noticed that in Mallow, things tend to get very quick in the last 100 yards. And the ground just gets that little bit better. Time and time again, I've seen horses getting nabbed up. So that was basically what happened. She was stuck in a bad pocket and it was a fantastic race. She got beaten. It was a short neck by Marshall Jennings. She came into season immediately after the race and we gave her a small bit of a break and went back to Gorn again and she won again. But all them races were on slightly softer ground than what we were expecting originally for her to have gone in. So that was a big learning curve. And what I learned from that horse, I can't put into words. You know, she taught me the good, the bad, the ugly. Made an awful lot of mistakes with her, ran her at the wrong times, but also got a lot of things right. I mean, we entered that Group 2 well in advance, and everything we did was in the lead up and the build up to that. Even shortly before the Group 2, Darrell O'Keefe rode her the list race in in Clarny. I think it was listed. Yeah, listed in Clarny. And that was her final piece of work in the lead up to Group 2. And for us, it's always been about breeding up. From the day we got, you know, the dance bloodline is very, very strong. If you go back through it, there's Derby winners there, there's big race in Australia. You know, there's plenty activity back along the edge of the dam side. So we always wanted, as I said, to purchase, race, and produce a black type broodmare. And luckily enough, we've done that before. And it just means the world to us because the mare means so much to me, giving me my first winner. She's given me so many hard days, so many good days. And for her to be producing offspring like she is just a dream come true. You know, it's definitely one ticked off the bucket list, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Brennan, you're a Cork man yourself. I mind being in Mallow. I think it was the first time that the new sprint track was opened. I had actually a runner, was part of a syndicate at a runner there that time. And you had a couple of horses running yourself that day. I think True Commitment was one. That was a hot enough maiden. I think it was the first race in the card. It was a hot enough maiden. I think Aidan O'Brien ended up winning it. I think there's good
That's
Olfin and
right,
everything
yeah.
there. Couple of good Olfin and everything in there. Just you touched on the track there, drying out or the inside the final furlong. What kind of facilities for you as Cork? You know, is it handy enough to you or?
Oh, it's literally only 5 minutes in the road. That's all. I mean, I grew up. I could hear the commentary from where I was born and raised. You know, tis definitely high on the bucket list. A lot of people ask me what race would I like to win, and as I say, a maiden first time out would be an absolute massive achievement, and to win a race at home. You know, to be lovely to win a race on the home track. Through any other sports I've been involved in down through the years, I've had success on the home events, and to mean an awful lot to try and get that winner in Mallow.
Come on, Cork. And just last for me, when I touched in there on around about trying to find the right race there for Ballycanes, how important is it, you know, for you now to find the right couple of opportunities, as you say, to get the winners on the board for selling that foal?
It's vital. I mean, I suppose he's valuable enough as he stands there, considering he's out of the Group 2 proven mare. And she's proved to be incredibly tough. The day that she placed in the Curragh in that Group 2, I remember she was battling to the line. Ryan Moore was riding one of Ryan's horses, and Ryan just came out a small bit top of her. And I kind of, you know, if the tables were turned and time was reversed, I think that there might have been a slight chance that she could have got the better of the horse. But Aidan went out of his way to cross the parade ring that day and walk up to my father and tell him that he had a very tough mare in her. You know, so like, as I say, I'm after completely losing my train of thought. Sorry, back to me what you said.
Now, just on about, you know, finding the right race now for Ballycanes to get them ones beside his name for now you go into the sales or whatever with the foal.
It's all down to timing. I mean, this race meeting is coming up in Leopardstown falls at a great time, you know, because you've got another one a few days later. And he's a tough horse, and it's been proven in the bloodline again with Andy, as I was saying. That's where I was coming to, is that he would be tough enough to return again and possibly go for the listed race that's coming up there over on a mile and two. But unfortunately, the weather's looking like it won't allow to do that. There's a mile listed there. Now we have him entered. He will be entered again for mile 2 handicap again that night. And you know, with tough horses like that, you just have to be brave and bold enough to say, right, okay, he ran an absolute blind here on Sunday. If he does run a blind, I'm going to take my chances and I'm going to go for the mile list. You have to have them opportunities open in advance, and you have to be willing to lose a few pounds in order to do it. You know, I mean, the listed entry is going to be done by 300 quid or something like that. And another say 70 or 80 if you declare or whatever it may be. Now we've two options. We're leaving 2 options open for him that day. If the weather changes and if it shows to be good forecast coming up, he'll be entered in both the listed and the mile and 2 handicap. And you have to be brave enough, as I say, and you have to be bold enough in order to do that. And it's taking chances like that. And a lot of people, if I do go for the listed, are going to say, he ruined it. He ruined the chance of winning handicaps. He's after fucking his handicap mark, excuse my French. But that's not what's important with him. What's important with him is get into the higher categories, to get into the better races and to get the black type beside his name to try and boost that pedigree for the foal outside. And that's the key, you know. And like when you're purchasing a mare or when you're breeding, you want your stock to go to good trainers. You want your stock to go to people who are going to take them chances, you know. Like at the moment, we have a Sioux Nation foal on the ground. He's doing very well at the sales. It's fantastic. There's a strong possibility we will go back to Sioux Nation again. I mean, he had a massive covering at his first crop. And I mean, it's something ridiculous. Like there's only 10 or 12, maybe 13% of him need to win for him to be champion of the World Side. So if any goes back to him again, he'll hopefully be after making champion of the World Side before next fall goes to the sales. And please God, Ballycanes will be after picking up a bit of black type if he's good enough. You know, so you have to keep an eye on all these things that are going on as a breeder. You can't just, like for me personally, I want to take any floor to vocalize. I just have this thing about vocalized. I like this stallion. I've had experience with one vocalized here. Unfortunately, injury has ruled him out of racing anymore. But I like them. I like their temperament. I like how they look. And for me, if I do go back to Sioux Nation for commercial purposes, for her third fall, I'll be going to vocalize and I'll actually be keeping him to run on, regardless of whether it's called or not. And again, I'll give that horse the time it needs. I don't mind waiting for a horse to be 3, 4, 5 years of age before they come right. I'm not going to rush them. You were there the day inside Cork when I ran 2 2-year-olds. You've only seen one of them ran again as a 2-year-old. He ran well behind in this stall. Unfortunately, that was as good as what he was that day in this stall. And he went on, he sold on. I don't think he's actually ran again since. True Commitment didn't run again until he was 4, 3. And still a bit scattered in the brains. True Commitment is still here. He was tailed off that day in that minute. He's still here. I believe him to be able to pick up a couple of races. He's a half brother to Bought in the Dark, who was unbelievable last season, you know, and it just shows that patience sometimes is needed, you know, and hopefully his time will come right now. He's 4, he's after growing up into a beautiful looking animal, and we'll see if we can get the most out of it.
Yeah, and finally, just touching on it, you were saying there that Conor Hoban had says about putting a claimer on. Funny, I had mentioned to the 2 boys after Ballycanes and Dundalk one night. I says I think a front running tactics is his way of going. I think there's one man for the job. As we look Mackett here, he loves jumping out in front. He's able to set unbelievable fractions, and I don't know how he does it, especially around Dundalk. And I was saying to the boys, I said, if Murphy gets him up some days, I'll definitely be putting a few pound on him.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris Hayes, the first time Chris Hayes rode me, I think he might have thought I was a bit of a lunatic, because I came in beaten 7.5 lengths satisfied, and he came in and I thanked him, and I went home absolutely delighted because he did everything I asked him to do. I told him, break her jaw, come out of the stalls and teach the bloody horse to ride behind and to come from behind, and he did it. And he put his faith in me and he put his trust in me. And that's the reason why I've kind of stuck with Chris since. And I haven't gone my usual route of using claimers, is because he trusts my opinion. He knows I ride the horses at home every day, and he values my opinion on the horse. And if I tell him, look, we need to ride a horse a certain way, he listens. It's like the night that my Jewel Angel ran a cracker above there in the main. I told him, when she comes out the stalls, let her gather herself, let her figure out what's going on. Whatever you do, don't touch her. And he didn't. And he said it entered his head coming down the straight. He was going to slap her in and try and take a hold of her. But he just dropped his hands, let her relax, and all of a sudden she came up that straight, absolutely swinging. You know, and unfortunately she's a bit temperamental and she didn't perform great next time. I was very happy with her run in the Cork. The ground just went against her. But yeah, back to what you were saying about a claimer. Definitely, I am a big supporter of claimers. I love giving young talents their chances, and it will be something that will be happening in the near future. But at the moment, my loyalties are lying to Chris because his feedback is phenomenal, and he trusts my opinion. He takes everything I say as gospel, and it's a big bonus for me.
Yeah, it's funny because that very day, whenever it was the Lincoln day, and I had said to the boys, I'd fully Crottage over a cliff. I just think he's one of the best that we have in Ireland. Like his riding style for one. But like you're very, very, very rarely are you going to get a bad ride off.
Like, as I said to him one night, and I said it to Kevin O'Ryan as well, I said, it doesn't matter if he's up on a certainty or the worst horse in the race. He's riding him to the line. And that's vitally important because there's money for 6th places. And with small yards and small owners, that few pounds for 6th place means the diesel is covered. You know, it means the entry fee is covered. It's after covering a bill. And a lot of these guys, they need to realize that, you know, push the horse to the line, or at least make it look like it. You know.
Yeah, Brendan, just I suppose picking up from there. I suppose I just have a couple more questions now just before we finish it off. But I just want to go on, I suppose, the most important topic for, I suppose, any yard in the country. And the most important aspect for success for any yard is, in my opinion, would be definitely the staff and the staff that you employ, I suppose, to get these horses right and to, I suppose, assist in the training aspect of things and different things like that. Just how important is staff to you? And I suppose for those who are probably looking on thinking that a good jockey is made look good by a very decent horse or a grade 1 standard horse, like what sort of, like what would your opinion on that be?
I've always maintained that any trainer can only be as good as his staff, particularly if a trainer doesn't ride himself. You know, you're completely dependent on their feedback. You're completely dependent on them getting things done right. And even here, like, we consider ourselves a small operation, but there's still 30 animals to be looked after here every day, you know. And like, the man that's bedding down the stable, he needs to be very exact in his job, you know, because your quality of straw might be good enough, and he has to make that decision. If stones, for argument's sake, you get an awful lot of straw with stones in it. If you have a stone inside the stable on top of concrete floor, a horse is going to stand in it. They're going to get a stone boost. That's it, bang, race over. They're not going, you know. They have to be withdrawn the morning of the race. So everyone has an absolutely vital part to play in the yard, from your barrier, your work jockeys, your stablemen, like everyone. The man that picks up the dung inside the stable is as important as the person up the horse back, in my opinion. You know, and they don't, I feel that they don't really get enough credit, because, like, especially in the bigger yards, you know, I mean, with these large trainers, large quantity of horses, yes, they're there to see them every day out the gallop, but they're not inside the stables every day, every morning, putting them on the walker, off the walker, checking their temperatures, checking their legs, making sure they're sound, you know, and making sure they're on the board to be done by the farrier. That's the stable hands and the stable staff's job. And having started that as a stable hand, essentially, I understand what it's like, and I understand how important their role is. And as I say, your quality of riders at home is a huge part as well. You can put the best jockey in the world up on the best horse in the world, but if they're not prepared properly and ridden correctly at home, they're not going to make it. And I'm also a firm believer that you could say 80% of horse injuries are caused by poor quality riders.
Yeah, definitely. But I suppose just going on to the fact that I suppose I'm not 100% sure whether it was Ryan or Dean talked about the foal. Say the foal there from any Fior. Just, I suppose, as someone that's going to the sales or planning on going to the sales anyway, like, what's your day-to-day routine with this foal to, I suppose, like, build it up and progress it on, and I suppose to build up strength and conditioning and everything else like that, so he's ready for November, or if you want to hold on for the yearling?
Well, I suppose the most important thing is nutrition. We feed our horses very well. An awful lot of people, an awful lot of staff have come and gone through the yard And is the one thing they all comment on is the amount of fresh hay and haylage that we give our horses. I'm a firm believer that a horse naturally grazes for 14 to 16 hours a day. And I believe that they should do that, whether they're in training or what they're doing. They should be able to nibble at something all day. So it's the same treatment is given to the mares. We put a lot of emphasis into our ground last year and the year before. We did a lot of drainage to improve the quality of the land. But we also took an awful lot of soil samples to improve the quality of the nutrients within the ground, to improve the quality of grass the mares and foals were getting in particular. Like for argument's sake, putting out lime in ground is very important to increase the calcium level in grass. And I think an awful lot of people within the horsey world fail to actually pay enough attention to that. And the better nutrition, as we say, that the foal will get day one, the better and the stronger they're going to be throughout their lives. So we put an awful lot of effort into that, knowing that we were going to put a better quality of mare into breeding, and knowing that having finally figured out a route that we want to go. With regard to day-to-day routine with this foal at the moment, it's a case of they're in at night, out in the cold, they're out all day. So we walked the mare out in the morning. This morning, that was the first morning I put a head collar on the foal. I didn't bother leading him out, just let him get used to it. And as the days progress now, we'll start to hold him as we're leading out with the mare, and he'll lead out in hand, and just plenty handling and plenty feeding is vital. I bought a foal trough this week, which is basically a feed pot with little dividing bars in it, so that the foal is able to get at nuts whenever he feels like getting that hard feed. Because if you leave him feed out of the same trough as the mare, she's going to eat it all. And as he gets bigger, he's going to start to eat more, and she's going to start to push him away from it. So there's small little things like that you have to just have to keep your eyes open at other people's operations and see how they're doing things and try and keep them as best you can. But it's all down, for me, my main focus is nutrition. That's the main thing as far as I'm concerned with raising any form of animals or stock, or even my daughter. You know, you're trying to get the correct vitamins in her all the time, even though she just wants to eat pasta and sausages. You know, you're going down to the chemist and you're buying these little gummy bears that have vitamins and multivitamins in them, you know, and it's the same thing with the foals. Keep warm dosing them. You keep them on the right stuff. As they get older, we'll introduce milk pellets into their diet when they're starting to be weaned from the mare. And we'll keep them on them for as long as possible. Like, try and keep as much natural nutrients in as possible. Like, there's nothing going to compete with mother's milk. I mean, for argument's sake, would say Ballycanes is in full training at the moment. He'd be on 4 to 5 scoops of feed a day, and he's getting 7 at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, you just give him as much as possible. And to be fair to her, the first mare that I foaled that didn't sweat when she was giving birth to him, and she's the first mare that I foaled that hasn't lost any condition whatsoever after foaling. Normally they go back a bit to get a little bit weaker themselves. You'd see them losing condition. She still looks like she's foaled. There might be another one in there.
Jeez, that'd be great too for the price of one. But yeah, look at, I suppose just to finish off, Brendan, I remember we talked last year, say from my own podcast when I had it up and running that time. The last thing you said to me then, I asked you, I suppose, like, what would the plans be for the future and what would you like to do, say, down the road? And you were telling me that you were, I suppose, hoping, say, down the line that you'd have your own rehabilitation center set up and I suppose looking after, I suppose, sick and injured horses, like, and bringing them back to full health. How is that, I suppose, coming on, or is it still in the forefront of your I suppose train of thought, or have you put it back at the back of your mind, or what's the story with that?
It's still something that I'm striving towards doing. Now, with last year being the year it was, COVID didn't really affect us, because the herpes hitting the yard affected us most, you know. Being involved in agriculture, our movements haven't really changed. The only thing I miss is my up for the odd meal or the odd pint here and there, but I wouldn't be, you know, it's not really essential for me, so it's not affected us. But the herpes really put a damper on the whole thing last year. So a lot of the plans that were in place for last year didn't come to pass. For argument's sake, I planned on facing into this season maybe a maximum of 15 horses inside the yard. You know, things just didn't go quite hard. And so hopefully this year we'll see me make up the ground that I lost last year, and we'll try and push on next year and try and look at doing that rehabilitation route. I'd like to get involved in it. It's something I'm very passionate about, and it's something that there's great job satisfaction in. You know, it's fantastic to be able to take a horse. Ballycane's being a prime example again. I was advised on 2 occasions that the horse's time was up. You know, and I had another horse that unfortunately got injured here, and I was advised by 3 experts that the right thing to do would be to let her go. And I fought, and I said no. You know, and I batted them back to full health, and the filly that got injured here, she was covered last week. So, you know, there's success stories in that, and there is other avenues there. With another horse there during the year that she had trouble breathing issues, and it couldn't be operated on, it's too far down. It's a genetic thing in some horses, and some horses are born with it, some other horses aren't. So luckily enough, this one seems to have been the only one in that bloodline that was born with it. But it's an issue that they grow out of. Their muscles are strengthened down around their neck, their breathing tubes and their pipes will all strengthen up with age. And we've reschooled her for Shojum. So it is fantastic to be able to give these other horses another avenue, and to be able to save them from what would be an uncertain day. And it's something that I really want to get involved in with the rehabilitation centre. So it is something that will happen down the road. It's not going to happen as soon as I hope.
Yeah, definitely. Lads, do you want to add any more onto the questions, or?
Yeah. Brendan, you mentioned gummy bear vitamins there. Do you find tablets too hard to swallow?
No, it's my daughter.
All right. Okay.
She's only 4 years of age. So we're trying to get as many vitamins, because this is an example of where we were going. You see, Dean, or Sharky, you tuned out for a small bit there, and you just came back in halfway through a conversation. You need to keep your eye on the ball.
That's them Peronis for you, Sharky. Too strong for your Stundbach, man.
You're
I know
That's
this is
walking into that right.
more squinty, aren't they?
They are. He's sweating a bit there too.
Yes, yeah.
Warm. Wear a jacket.
Alcohol is the
Like 20
juice to the
degrees in
devil.
Yeah, good on you.
Alcohol is the juice to the devil. Stay away.
It is, yeah. You'll probably be on it later.
You know, lads, and I'm gonna throw this out there publicly while we're recording. Myself and Sharky were talking earlier on, and we reckon that it would be a right crack to do a preview night on the beer.
Oh, definitely.
We'll probably fall out, but we should chance it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
that's
Definitely fall out.
We'll get Ruby involved as well. He'll definitely be up in the net after a few points.
If we get Rooney on after a few pints, Jesus, none of the rest doesn't get a word on.
Oh, stop.
The ice proposals will be flying out the fucking door.
Oh, stop.
I'm gonna get one of them clickers the next time to see how many times it comes up. Go on.
Go on, Ryan. You may tell him about that one.
I'll have it up at the screen there down below. It'll be, I suppose, counter. Shane Reedy, I suppose, counter.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. I suppose, lads, will we?
There we go.
Will
Will
we
we go
finish
for
it up there?
another
Will we?
over?
I think we may finish it up there now, lads, before I suppose roast myself anymore than I already have. But just to talk about the patron for those who might want to sign up, it's €10 a month.
Basically, in a nutshell, people, what they're trying to say is that they throw a few darts at the board, they pick a few horses, they're quite good at it. So if you want to sign up, it's quite simple. It's only a tenner. Join them.
Yeah, that's definitely it. But as well as that, we do monthly giveaways for the members. I think overall, so far we've given away something like, well, close to €400 worth in prizes. Say between the €200 for the Cheltenham Festival competition, we give away a year's worth of a share in a horse over in Emma Lavelle's. We had a few different, I suppose, cash giveaways, different things like that. And we had the hacked up horse racing gifts. We got a couple of gifts from there as well. So for the sake of a tenner, we have a fairly healthy strike rate. I think we're running off something like, I think it's 70 points profit for 1 point level stakes. Something along the lines like that. Ryan will have the total profit loss there in calculated up, but for the sake of a tenner, it's helping us out big time. We're trying to give the likes of Brendan and I suppose the people that don't necessarily get the media attention that they deserve in, I suppose, the race and scene. And I suppose, look at your support is greatly appreciated. But look at, if that's a little bit too much to ask for, we would kindly ask to like, share, and subscribe this video, just to get the word out there, get people subscribing to the, I suppose, the podcast. Make sure you don't miss out, different things like that. But that's basically it, folks. Brendan, thanks very much for coming on. Dean, Ryan, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks a million for having me, lads, and keep up the good work.
Good stuff.